I think probably all of us have had experience with folks ducking our questions and are ducking other folks' questions. You know, I think we probably learned to do that very early in life. I can remember when Dawn and I had our own home outside of Fairlawn, and I'd walk out the sliding glass doors out of the kitchen dining area onto the back porch, and we had a 2-stall garage, an L off in the back of the house. When I walked out, I heard this awful racket, crash, bang, boom. I thought, what in the world? It was coming from around the corner of the garage where we kept our metal garbage cans. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I walked over there and looked around the corner of the garage, and there was our youngest son, Seth. He isn't as tall as some of you have met him. In fact, he was about 4 years old. He was about like this, and he had a stick in his hand. And he was just wailing the daylights out of one of our metal garbage cans. And I said, Seth, what are you doing? Question. You could tell when he's doing something he wasn't supposed to, he'd get that head shake, you know. I said to him, Seth, is there anything in that garbage can? I said, let Dad see. And I walked over there and pulled the lid off that garbage can, and there was our old Tomcat. And when I dumped him out on the ground, this is the way he went across the backyard. Seth was ducking my questions. Probably 2-3 weeks later, I don't remember, it's been so long ago. Came out in the garage door's open. There's Seth, here's our Coleman cooler on the garage floor. We've been camping. Here's Seth squatting with a Coleman cooler, and he's doing this onto the lid of it. I said, Seth, what are you doing? Question. I said, Seth, is the cat in that cooler? I said, let me see. Opened the cooler, and out came the old cat. So most of us know what it means to duck questions and have our questions ducked. But you know, I was thinking the other day, if there's a group of people who experience this maybe more than any other group, it has to be attorneys. And especially prosecuting. And I'll bet Rhonda Wade, if she were allowed, could give us some very good examples of ducking questions. Like this. Rhonda, Doctor, how many autopsies have you performed on dead people? The witness, all of my autopsies have been on dead people. Ducking the question. Rhonda, what is your date of birth? The witness, my date of birth is the 15th of July. What year? Why, every year. Whether it's intentional or unintentional. Humans tend to try to find loopholes when confronted with direct questions that might incriminate their behavior. I bring this up because in today's gospel lesson, it seems that Peter, if you read closely, may be trying to duck Jesus' questions. Still reeling from Jesus' crucifixion and his appearance to them in Jerusalem, Peter and a few of his disciples decided to go fishing. And I thought, man, my kind of guys. And stress relieving as well. And these guys know a lot about fishing, but on this day, they're about as successful as their ability to stick with Jesus through his trial and his crucifixion. Peter, the rock, the leader of the group, had denied Jesus 3 times, just as Jesus had predicted that he would do. And Peter was no doubt stunned when the risen Lord showed up. Oh my goodness. That sudden appearance of the Lord that he had denied must have shamed him greatly. Don't you imagine? Don't you imagine Peter was shamed by that? And hence his desire then to get away and go fishing. But Jesus, like a diligent investigator, isn't about to let Peter get away without an interview. I got to talk to him. And the risen Lord stood on the seashore early one morning, inviting the disciples to try a different fishing strategy. You know, he had instructed them on how to fish for people for 3 years. And now he's telling them how to fish for fish. Although at this point they didn't recognize it. And when the nets suddenly become full, they realize that that figure on the shore was actually the Lord. And it's similar to the story, to the Emmaus story. You know, the two disciples walking down the road to Emmaus. A stranger joins in with them, and their eyes have been closed to the fact that it's Jesus, and they travel down the road and begin to share a meal, and it was only in the breaking of the bread that they recognized the Lord. Very similar in storyline. And then seeing Jesus, Peter jumps into the water and he swims to shore while the others brought in the fish. And so Jesus proposed a breakfast meeting with fish and bread, and they ate it together, and the disciples, not daring to ask, "Who are you?" After breakfast, it's time for Jesus to take a deposition. So he asks some questions. Peter's called to the witness stand first. And knowing his own guilt, he begins to duck questions. "Simon, son of John," Jesus asks, "do you love me more than these?" You know, it's interesting that Jesus uses Peter's original name and not the one that he'd given to the disciple previously, Cephas, or Peter, the rock. You know, it's almost as though Jesus was acting like a lawyer, trying to get a witness to focus from the beginning, saying, "Now let's go over the story again. Let's go over this story one more time. Start at the beginning and tell me what happened." Peter's answer, however, is non-responsive. He doesn't really answer the question directly, but he speaks to the questioner's previous knowledge. And it's a classic dodge, describing the expected procedure. "Do you love me even more than the rest of these guys?" asks Jesus. "Sure," Peter seems to be saying. "That's the expectation, isn't it? I know you've always expected me to do everything better than the rest. That's why you named me Rocky, after all." But Peter's answer is a non-answer. It's love that's expected. Peter is cautious here because he knows his previous actions that night that Jesus died revealed apparently how shallow and superficial his love for Jesus really was. Jesus asked him, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter's pretty non-responsive about it, you know. Why? Because he'd already denied the Lord 3 times. Evidently his love wasn't as deep for Christ as it should be. And Jesus essentially asked that same question 3 times in order to get this witness to answer. As Peter denied Jesus 3 times to engage in his act of cowardice and betrayal, so Jesus will take 3 opportunities to restore him, Peter, as a true disciple, who not only confesses his love for Jesus, but acts on it as well. "Feed my lambs," Jesus responds to Peter's weak first confession. In other words, Jesus is calling Peter to demonstrate his love by caring for the people whom Jesus cares for. "Feed my lambs," Jesus tells Peter. Love for Jesus is always love that is lived out in relationship with others. even those who may be your enemies. So Jesus asks him a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And this time, Peter gives a definitive, yes, Lord. But he qualifies it by putting the load on the question. Yes, Lord. You know I love you. Peter makes the assumption of Jesus' knowledge. Jesus is after a real demonstration of love. Tend my sheep, he commands. Show me how much you love me by being a good shepherd and following on your bold promises from before. Don't tell me what Jesus is saying. Don't tell me how much you love me, Peter. Show me how much you love me. Feed my sheep. Take care of the folk that I'm concerned about and I take care of. Be willing to sacrifice yourself on behalf of them and on behalf of me. That's real love. Jesus says in John 15, no one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You know, it's one thing, folks, to be a witness to Jesus with our words. Words are cheap in many instances. And it's quite another to put those words into action. The call to follow Jesus is a call to self-sacrifice, to give ourselves on behalf of others. Previously, Peter had bailed out. When given the chance to stick with his friend all the way to the cross, Peter bailed on Jesus. Despite bravado in saying to Jesus in John 13:37, he says to Jesus there, I'll lay down my life for you. I'll die for you, Jesus. Then he turns around and bails on him. But now he's getting a second chance to carry through on his commitment. You know, folks, we may not be called to die for Jesus, as Peter did, and many are doing even today. But we are called to tend his sheep in ways that may cost us our reputation, our comfort, and our resources. This is real love. Laying down our lives and our agendas for Christ and his people. So Jesus asks a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter attempts one more time to dodge the question. By now he's hurt by this line of questioning. So he offers an argument, another way of being non-responsive. You want answers? You know everything, Jesus. Jesus responds with truth, and Peter has a hard time handling it as we would. Jesus tells Peter then that he will indeed die for the sheep, die for being a disciple. And the non-responsive Peter would eventually give the ultimate response by offering up his life in authentic love. Peter steps out as a true disciple, forgiven, restored, and made new by love. And ever since, disciples of Jesus have been confronted with the same questions. Do you love me? Do you love me? Jesus asks us, do you love me? If you do, you will feed and tend my sheep. And folks, there's no way to dodge these questions. Oh, you can try. But you can't deflect that responsibility onto someone else. Another classic non-responsive answer. And even Peter attempts to do this when Jesus asks him, do you love me, Peter? Then tend my sheep, feed my lambs. Peter attempts to deflect that responsibility, pointing to the disciple that Jesus loved, and asking, Lord, what about him? What about him? But the question is being asked of us, folks, you and I. We will either demonstrate our love for Jesus through our care and love for others, or we will perjure ourselves before the ultimate judge. Jesus said as much in Matthew 25. Our words of love for Jesus must be matched by our actions on behalf of others. If we've been failing on that account, we know that the one who judges us is also the one who's ready to forgive and restore us. Just as Jesus forgave and restored Peter. We can begin again and become responsive disciples who can really handle the truth. Do you love me? And tend my sheep. Do you love me? And feed my lambs. May it be so for us this day. Amen.